Fredericks. They're both gluttons for punishment because they keep coming back week after week. Good evening. Thank you guys for coming on. John,
hey,
you first. The first 3 weeks of Donald Trump's presidency have been, and we can call it a whirlwind. How do you think he's doing?
Policy-wise, Don and Bill, he's doing fantastic. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He's fired up his base. The people that voted for him couldn't have gotten anything better because he is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And that is what is defining this presidency. Look, he came to Washington. He's the rainmaker. He's the disruptor. He's going to change Washington. He's going to break the glass. He's going to do things differently. People wanted a change. They wanted a different Washington. They wanted somebody to come in, peel back the onion, tell them the truth, tell them what was really going on, and he's certainly done that. But look, you're going to take the good with the bad, and some of it is bad because we're going to have collateral political damage, no question about it. There's going to be some friendly fire in order to get the kind of change that Donald Trump is trying to do. But the thing is, he's telling the truth to the American people. He's telling them the truth. He's telling them what's going on, and I think in 2018 he's going to reap the benefit of that.
All right. Did you bring your pom-poms with you, John? Jeez.
Hey,
Anyways,
I'm fired up tonight.
You are.
Can I ask, are we living on the same planet? I mean, come on. This is absurd. First of all, Donald Trump hasn't accomplished anything. I mean, he hasn't built the wall. He didn't even get the wall started. He did not repeal Obamacare on day one, which he promised. Now, I'm going to be fair. I remember it was a little rocky when Bill Clinton got started. This is a big job. It's very complicated. Nobody walks into it and does it that smoothly. It was a little rough when Barack Obama started. But these last 3 weeks, I think, for Donald Trump, have been a disaster. He lost 3 rounds in the court. He's generated the biggest protests we've seen since the Vietnam War. He's got the president of Mexico canceled a visit. The president of China won't talk to him. His chief counselor and his national security advisor are both now being accused of perhaps breaking the law. I mean, what more can go wrong in these 3 weeks? I think it shows that they're just not ready for prime time. The whole gang of them.
It's you guys. It's so weird that people have such different perspectives on this. It's just fascinating to me. I mean, John, to Bill's point, look at hundreds of protesters upset at this town hall held by Utah Representative Jason Chaffetz last night, forcing him to end it 45 minutes early. I want you to listen to this retired teacher from Utah.
I'm a retired teacher, and I taught for 35 years in Salt Lake, and I rarely had a discipline problem because I laid out my expectations very clearly, and I laid out the consequences. But once in a while at the beginning of the year, after just 2 or 3 weeks, I could look at a kid and think, you're going to be a problem. It's been 2 or 3 weeks. Now, I want you to know what I would do is I would draw a line in the sand at the very beginning of the year and say, pass this line, and this is the consequence. For the President of the United States, the consequence is impeachment.
So in the second part of this, John, she's saying, considering how she feels about the president, what he's done so far, she thinks the consequence, and those are her words, are impeachment, is impeachment. She's also saying, as a school teacher, she knows after 2 or 3 weeks when she has a kid that's going to be a problem, if they're going to be a problem. And she's saying, this is a problem. This is a Republican district in a red state, and should you be worried, and should he be worried in the administration that this sentiment is beginning to grow?
Don and Bill, he is going to be a problem for liberals and the left and the mainstream media that doesn't really understand why he was. He's going to be a continued problem
I said
for
this
4
was
years.
a red district.
So look,
this is Utah.
This is in Utah.
There are Don and Bill, every district in America has Democrats in it. Every single one. My district, District 4 in Virginia, I'm represented by Don McEachin, probably one of the most liberal congressmen in America. Who cares, right? Trump got nearly 44% of my district. There's always a balance. But look, Trump should wear these protesters like a badge of honor. I think it's a great thing. The reason he has fired up the Democratic base, fired up the the progressives, and got them to come out and protest is because he is making change like no one has ever seen. If the protesters stopped on, and Bill, that's when I would get worried. They
It's
need
not
to keep
all
protesting.
liberal protesters out there.
No,
and
no,
it seems like you're
Those
saying the
that are
protesters,
protesting-
when it's a Tea Party on the right, they're legitimate protesters. But when it's what you consider as liberals on the left, the protesters are not legitimate. How do you?
I never said that.
How do you make that
Don't
jibe?
put words in my mouth. I never said they weren't legitimate.
You just
I'm saying
said
they're
that the
legitimate,
protesters
but I'm
are
saying
liberals
he's
in
fired.
every single district.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the Tea Party the Tea Party protesters were conservative. They were concerned about Obama's policies. The progressive protesters are very unhappy
You're
with
making-
Trump's policies
you're making my
because he's
point.
actually
Hey,
doing
Don,
something.
Don, hey, Don, let me just point out, first of all, I want to repeat, this is Utah. This is the reddest of the red states. And the other thing about these town halls, I got to tell you, the Tea Party, I know this, I wrote a book about it. They're called The Obama Hate Machine. The Tea Party town halls were banked and planned and orchestrated by the Koch brothers and their operation. These are organic, grassroots people just turning out because they're pissed off already at what's happening with this administration. Right. We saw it with the march on Washington. We saw it with the people turning out at the airports. And we saw it, I got to tell you, as a lefty, these aren't being planned by anybody. These are just people coming out on their own. There's an energy, there's a movement, really, that Donald Trump has sparked, which I don't think he planned for, and he's going to have to deal with.
Okay, so stand by.
Bill, but
more. Hold it. You know, you're in radio. I got to get to the break. We're coming back. We'll be right back. So I'm back now with my radio guys, Bill Press and John Frederickson. We're having a quiet conversation about the protests happening, which have been happening around the country. But John, do you disagree? Bill said this is organic. It's not, in his estimation, like the Tea Party, which was paid for by the Koch brothers.
Well, look, I'm sure there's some of these protesters that might be paid. I don't know what the numbers are.
Get out
but
of here.
that's not the point. That's not, Bill, that's not the point. The organic nature of the progressive protests that are going on around America is real, and it's great, and it's fabulous, and I encourage it. I want them to keep coming out, keep speaking what's on their mind. And as I said earlier, the day the protests stop is when I get concerned about the Trump agenda. They're coming out because they don't like what Trump is doing, because he is the disruptor and rainmaker of Washington that is going to get the kind of change that that people never thought would happen, and that is going to come with protest and change disruption. You're not going to be able to get this level of differences that he is trying to do without a very formidable resistance. So I applaud what they're doing. They need to keep coming out, speaking their mind. At the end of the day, though, if Trump is able to create jobs, get out of these wars, create economic prosperity, stop illegal immigration from taking our jobs away, put people back to work, put money in your pocket, he's going to win in 2018, and he's going to get reelected in 2020. Protesters are not.
First of all, let me just assure you, okay? The protests are not going to stop, all right? I mean, thanks for your encouragement. We don't need your encouragement.
That's good. I don't want them to stop.
The protests are going to continue for the next 4 years, at which time Donald Trump is going to be history. But I just want to say, I think Donald Trump learned a lesson this week, and I hope we all learned a lesson this week. And the lesson is black robes matter. I love the fact that Donald Trump said, we're going to see you in court. You're damn right we're going to see him in court. And that's, thank God for our founding fathers and the separation of powers and created this judiciary branch that would keep a president in check, because we've already seen in the first 3 weeks this president totally out of bounds when it comes to the Constitution and American law, not to mention morality. And judges have stood up, and the best that Donald Trump can do is to call them so-called judges. So I think that's where the battle's going to be. You can't count on the Congress to stop it. The protests will help, but the real strength for the American people is going to come from our judicial system.
John, before you, I know you want to respond
robes
to that, but I do want to say that was pretty clever of you, Bill, by the way. But what I do want to say, John, is you said that these protests have been happening because of what the president has done, because he's getting things done. The biggest one of all happened the day after the inauguration, when he hadn't done anything yet.
He still hasn't done anything.
Well, they don't like the outcome of the...
He hasn't done.
They don't like the outcome of the
accomplished
election.
one thing. right?
Well,
yeah,
he's
you're,
been in
you're
office-
saying all he's
Bill,
done
he's
is
been in-
just executive orders, and that has not been resulted in
Bill,
any
he's been in office
legislation.
3 weeks. Give him a chance to get his legislative agenda done. That's why Reinstating is there. If he can't get some of this thing through Congress, he's going to get fired.
John.
The over/under on him in Washington is 10 months. But look,
John, he said he was going to repeal Obamacare on day 1. Where is it?
Well, he didn't have the Republicans' bill could have come up with a replacement, and he said, if you look, you guys have had all this time to come up with a replacement. You don't have one. I'll get my own. So they're figuring that out. But the crybaby Democratic caucus with these protesters, before he's even done anything, they're mad over the election outcome. But look, I encourage that. Let's get to the judicial end of it. You've got liberal activist left-wing judges that are now making policy, legislative policy from the bench, and Trump
Who's
is calling
doing that?
them
The
out.
Ninth Circuit?
And he's calling them out to the American people.
Wait, is this
and
the-
that's why
John,
he's
you're
on the
talking
show.
about the Ninth
Is this
Circuit.
the
The
Is that what you're
Ninth Circuit is the most
No.
liberal
Is this the
court.
Republican-
They shop
wait, is
the
this-
right
Whoa,
court
whoa, whoa,
to get the
stop,
result
stop.
they
There were
want.
Is
judges
this
there
the
who reported
Republican
who
judge, the
were
Republican
appointed by
judge from
Republican
Seattle?
presidents. But go on.
Yeah, exactly. The George W. Bush appointee, James Robart in Seattle. Is that the left-wing liberal you're talking about? You don't know what you're talking about, dude.
All right, I got to go, guys. Thank you. Dude,
Look, Bill,
you just
at the
call
end of the
me?
day,
All right.
you know, I'm
I
right.
gotta go.
Thanks,
I gotta go. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next week, hopefully.